Well, there it is. That's the way I've decided to go. All we've got to do now is stick it on. So here's the dilemmas. This end here is easy. That's the square ends. They're going to slot onto the existing chassis. So all that can go wrong there is that I cut the old chassis off in the wrong place and there's no metal there to weld to when I get there. The next issue is that this end, where the leaf springs attach, they have got to be in exactly the same position as the last ones were. So it's got to be correct in this plane and also this plane. So let's have a look at that. This is where I bought the part from. They were the cheapest at £286 delivered. It was here in a day and a half, and I've got no complaints so far. Now, everything below the chassis, axle, leaf springs, all of that moves around. So it's not a fixed point for that. So when I cut the chassis off, there is no reference to that. And what we need is a reference to land exactly in the same place here. So the plan is to take a nice piece of old shelving bracket like this, drill a hole in this end that's the right size for the bolt, like that. There'll be a hole there. And then at the other end, once I've got that hole, bolt that on, lift this up to here, weld this end to the chassis. Then when I cut the rest of this off, take the bolt out, and that piece of metal will be there with a hole. So when I put the new one on, I line up the new one with the hole here, put the bolt through. Round the other side, exactly the same. What can possibly go wrong? Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is undo these steering linkages and get them out of the way. And so it begins. What seems like the simplest of tasks now requires specialist tools. Hey, gotcha. Well, that bottom one has just taken me about an hour and a half to get off. And now I'm looking at this one, and that really doesn't look like it's gonna surrender easily either. don't know what that is. You have to take the bolts right out of these because there's a recess there that the bolt sits in, and if you only loosen the bolt off it won't come past there, so you've always got to take these right the way out to get that off. Excellent. Right, I've got to get the grinder in here now to cut across there to cut the chassis. This is still in the way. The next connection for it is way, way, way down there in the darkness. So I'm just wondering if I turn that like that and then wind the steering wheel, will it go enough? Fingers crossed. Oh, yes. Haha. Okay, happy days. I'm just going to slacken these things off and knock the bolts through so that when I do get to the point of wanting to take them off, I know it's going to happen fairly easily. Oh, crikey, I don't believe it. Look at that. Oh, in fact, they're actually coming undone. I'll just clean them threads out. Good God, I don't believe it. A nut and bolt that actually work. So anyway, that's all. I don't want to take them out yet. I just want to make sure that when I do, okay, they're loose. Whee! Crikey, that one's, look at that. Beautiful. I'm moving on to this bit now. Just want to get the preparation done here. So, I want to drill the hole in here. That's the same size as that bolt. So, the snugger it is, the more accurate the fit will be later. So I'm just going to measure the thickness of the bolt and then drill the hole that size, and that should be a nice tight fit then. So what I want to do now is just get it roughly in position here, and then let's put this up onto the chassis where it sits nice and flat against the chassis. So that's roughly where I'm aiming for when I fix it on. And then down here now, this end. So now I can give myself a rough mark, give or take, where I want that hole to go. Okay, let's have a dry run here. That and there. That's a very good note in there. That's beautiful. That's got a little bit of sideways pressure in it, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. Okay, I've got to take this bolt here, comes out nice and easily. It's not under any pressure. So I managed to get that one in now, cleaned everything up. That one there is ready to weld up. I come around to the other side. This one, this here through the leaf spring, this one's tight. Now, what I have got to do next is take both of these out off the leaf springs, and then obviously the axle is going to just want to drop down. So I've stuck the axle jack underneath there. I'm going to knock this one out now and we'll see what happens. Hopefully nothing too drastic. There you go. Right, I've lifted this up off the jack now, and I just put some loose rods in here to see what had happened, and it hasn't dropped down. So I really do need it to drop down because it's going to come off. But I just feel that it should be trying to drop down, and it ain't. It's moved a bit, but it still hasn't dropped into those. Oh, that moved then. Right, that's dropping now. This one's still loose. Could just be that they're jammed in there on the bushes, perhaps. The only thing that can be holding it up is the shock absorbers. But anyway, I really hope I don't have to take the entire axle off to do this. Okay, that's down onto that now. So if I get the jack a bit closer to it, like that, and take the pins out. Probably is going to suddenly let go. Oh, it's not what I expected at all. Not drop down onto the jack yet. Interesting. Interesting. Coming out a bit more. Still haven't gone down to the jack. Nope, it's not dropping. The only thing I can think is that it's hanging off the shock absorbers. So I'll jack it up, take the pressure off them, knock the shock absorbers out and see if it'll drop down then. It's actually quite loose, surprisingly enough. Number 2 son got me this for my birthday. Let's see if it works. Oh. Oh, thanks son. That's all right. So far. Right. There. Doesn't want to come off. Oh, don't make me take the bottom off as well. Here I go again. Right. Something's happened. I think it's dropped. Right, well, it's off there anyway. I'm trying to bend it enough to get it out of the way. Yes. Right. Let's see if it'll drop down. Oh. Oh, there he goes. Gotcha. Right. That now can go down a little bit more out the way, I think. Well, that should sit on the floor. Right. At last. Free. to take the bolts out of here now. That's it, we know where the next one's going to land there. So I'll go ahead and cut the front off now. At last! Oh, it's so close. Thinner one in there for now. Right, that's it, it's in. Roughly. There's still a bit of fiddling to do. I've managed to get this one's lined up with a thinner bolt, that's not far away. And then this side is, well, it's nearly there, you can see. So that's alright, it's just fiddling now. I've got a little bit to trim there and another one there, so that it just needs to go back a bit and then we can weld it in. So my system of welding a bracket on there seems to have worked. And this is okay. I thought I might be short of good metal here to weld to, but that's fine. So I think now, first thing I can do is tidy this lot up. What a mess. That's been some campaign, that has.